but my objective is to say like every 4 words.
Please do.
Yes.
Or yeah.
All right, so thank you guys for coming out. The objective of today is to dig into what is CrossFit, not just from a lecture standpoint, but I think is an opportunity for us to reflect on how important CrossFit has become for a lot of us, right? In fact, you're sitting here right now is important to see and appreciate. And so what I handed out to you, this comes from Greg Glassman. So for those of us that are new to CrossFit pre-COVID or post-COVID, Greg Glassman is the founder of CrossFit. And so he had a lot of wise words early on in the fitness space when it was just powerlifting or cardio. And what he's been able to do is find a gap in that space that has resonated with millions, if not tens of millions of people. And so you've seen the first part of that 100 words for fitness back in our common area, right? But this is a great summary of CrossFit for someone that wants to understand what we're trying to do and how it's incorporated into a fitness methodology, right? So thank you for coming. I appreciate it. This is all you needed. No. So point being is that I'm going to dig into pieces of what's called the level 1 manual. So the level 1 is the entry point for CrossFit coaches, ownership, but it is just an entry point, meaning you're going to learn a lot of the context to why we do the things that we do in a level 1. It's not required. It's not something that is limited to coaches or affiliate owners. If someone wants to go and do it, they should go and learn more, right? Even if you're not planning to coach. And now I understand that's an expensive venture, but it is something that if you really want to see why we do the things we do, then that's where you start. One of the things that I like is that Greg Glassman has not stopped pursuing his involvement in the health industry, because even though he was canceled, and we could get into that at another time, and sold the company away, he is continuing to try to pursue eat meat, vegetables, nuts, seeds, some fruit, little sugar, or some fruit, little starch, no sugar, sorry. I usually can just spit that out by heart. But he recognizes, and he's getting into the medical field now. So there is a CrossFit level 1 for medical professionals, specifically for them. And the reason is that he understands that the healthcare system is broken. And so you hear us all the time talk about being proactive with our health in here. And so he's trying to do the same by interjecting CrossFit, its methodologies, into the healthcare field, because he recognizes that it is broken. So if you are on Instagram, I highly recommend you following the account, the CrossFit Book. It's the account where they are now kind of using that as a platform for continued information, and you'll see us, post into our stories sometimes what that is. But before I kind of get into the details of this, CrossFit is going to be more, and you guys know this, is more than a workout. It's more than just working out, right? And I think that's the key that resonates with people and is tough for us to express to our family members or our friends, right? Why we end up having no friends but CrossFit friends, because we want them to do what we're doing, feeling what we're feeling. The same can be said, and some of you have heard me say about religion. I'm not calling this as a religion. There are some people that think this is a cult, but there are reasons for that, okay? But what I'm trying to say is that I've been doing this for 12 years, right? Kind of think about that for a second. And not just, JR's been doing CrossFit for 12 years, but what is something other than your actual business career that you've done for 12 years? Especially when it comes to exercise. And I think that's the key thing, is that CrossFit has such an impact on people that it is something that is lifelong. And so I've said to people, I don't care I'd love for you to be here and do CrossFit, but if you don't do CrossFit here, that's okay. What I care about is that you're doing CrossFit somewhere. It could be in your garage, right? And what you're going to learn is that CrossFit is more than just barbells and GHDs and all that. CrossFit can be anything, right? We try to do the best of encapsulating all of that into our overall programming, but it is going to be with you for your life. You know, some people can try it, some people will stick with it, but if you've drank the Kool-Aid, you know what it feels like to do this, right? And then try to say to your friends, and why we're kind of here on what is CrossFit, is my ability to not only kind of give you the, hey, yay, you're all doing CrossFit and this is bigger than just workouts, but also some insight to what CrossFit is, so that when you are talking to friends that are either fucking naysayers or haters, how long did I make it before I used the F word? Like 5 minutes? It's not bad. Or someone that's on the fence. Someone that's on the fence, right? So that we can say to them, look, this has been so impactful for me, I think you should try it too, right? So this is a great summary of what it is. And so we're going to dig into it a little bit more of the pieces to it. So the first thing is that if you can't read what's on the board, that's okay, right? I will try to explain it. I won't try to write too much. There is no test, there is no quiz, okay? What I am going to do is take pieces of the level 1, pretty much the first 20 pages. I'm going to skip some stuff, but I think there's a lot of value in the first 20 pages because it's probably 3 hours of lecture that they do in the first day. And so it is very powerful, all right? And so if you have any questions at any point, ask. I'll do my best to answer those questions. But let's get started. So, understanding CrossFit. The aim. Our aim is broad and inclusive, general and inclusive fitness. So let's unpack that. Okay? So what's that mean? So it's not inclusive for people. It's inclusive that we're trying to be prepared for everything. So being able to do what we summarize it in GPP, general physical preparedness, or being able to be ready for the unknown and unknowable. So that's why we run, climb ropes, do pull-ups, use barbells, everything, right? And we start to incorporate things. Now, we are very fortunate as a CrossFit gym that we do have a lot of things that we can incorporate to Gym Pop, but that allows us to broaden even further that fitness, right? So carrying odd objects, having something like a tire, right? And having all of these things. So it's broad and inclusive, meaning it's not inclusive to the types of people. We'll get into that in a second. But it's more about inclusive style of fitness, my ability to be everything, preparing for anything and everything, right? So the other thing too is you hear people, we get into it for Olympic lifting. Let's just take that. It's super easy to do, right? So we talk about Olympic lifting with cleans and snatches and jerks and such. There are people that specialize in that. They spend their entire career focused on those two movements. Those are specialized people, right? The same as an ultra marathon runner, meaning they are on the ends. And what we're trying to be is jacks of all trades. There are some now, when we talk about the sport of fitness in a few minutes, that are trying to be kings of all trades. Their ability to be not only good at everything, but excel in everything. And you've seen, we have CrossFit people that are at the sport or the peak of fitness that are literally on Olympic teams. Girls that are on bobsledding teams, on the Olympic lifting team, and that's how good, but not only that, can they excel in that particular specialty, but they have such a broad and inclusive fitness that they could also probably compete pretty damn well in a marathon. Not only that, you've heard people with a challenge, especially at the elite level, a 500-pound back squat, a 5-minute mile, and 50 unbroken pull-ups in one day. Adam Klink from CrossFit Krypton did that. There's another one, what's his name? It's not Maliolo, whatever, what's his first name? Austin. He runs a lot of these stuff for affiliates now. He did a 600-pound deadlift and ran a marathon in the same day. So the point being is that we are trying to be broad and inclusive in our fitness, even into the spectrum. So is Austin ever going to deadlift 1,000 pounds? Not unless he focuses all of his energy into that, but it's most likely going to take away from his ability to run a marathon, right? So the reason for that is because when we talk about getting into what is fitness, we're the only group that defines that thing. And so a lot of times people say, well, the fittest person must be someone that runs a Ironman or is a decathlon, right? Or is a power lifter. All of these real specialized people. But if you put them to the true test of overall fitness, they're going to get crushed by someone that's a generalist, right? Okay, so our prescription. So this is the heart of what we do. RT, RX. Constantly varied, functional movement, executed at high intensity. That is what we do. Okay? That's our prescription. And that's really powerful because that is why we're here. So I think I like this. I was listening to Best Hour of the Day. That's a mentorship program that I did. They were talking about this as well. Easiest way to do this, if you're trying to say to someone, what is CrossFit? We change things up every day, right? We work out hard. Excuse me. And we do movements that you'll see outside the gym. That's the best way to say it. We work out hard. We change it up every day. And you do things that you're going to see outside the gym, right? Compound movements, right? When I say high intensity, that's 70% or more. We're going to sweat, right? A lot of times people unfortunately think high intensity as maximal effort. That's not true, right? There are days where you'll hear us say, look, today is just a moving day. That's still a good effort, but it's not maximal. You can't go maximal effort every day. But constantly varied. That's the nice thing about what we do and why it brings people in here is that it's not the same thing. It's not fucking biceps and triceps on one day, chest and back on another, and legs, and that gets boring. I promise you, I did that for a long time. It is boring. I don't think I could ever go back. Be like, this is what we're going to do? Right? Changing it up every day. Not only that, it encourages you to try things you suck at. I suck at a lot of stuff, right? But it has allowed me over the 12 years to be able to do a lot of things that I would have never even tried if it were just that kind of gym bro life, right? Anything on the rig other than strict pull-ups. I would have never thought about running. Double unders, any of that shit, right? So, functional movements. This is where I'm going to get a little technical, but universal, motor recruitment patterns. So these are common patterns you're going to see in a lot of things, a lot of hinging, right? Pressing from an overhead position. These are universal things that you do not only in multiple workout or multiple movements, but also things you're going to see or apply in the real world scenarios, right? Picking your bags up from when you get, when you're at the airport. Having to press something overhead to put it on a shelf. Having to lay down on the ground and get back up. Some of these core things, these are all universal movement patterns. Now, the other thing too is that they are natural movements. And the other key thing, this is the one that really bugs people, they are all safe movements, right? And they are effective and efficient. So why, because I want to pause there for a second, safe. One thing you always hear from people that hate on CrossFit is, oh, that's dangerous. That's not safe. Well, I'm sorry, but if I were to load up a hamstring or a hamstring curl machine with as much weight as possible, I'm most likely going to blow out my hamstring. But how many of us have failed a back squat? Right? How many of us have failed at an Olympic lift? Right? These are safe movements, but the key thing, of course, within CrossFit is that we teach you how to move correctly. Now, last, and this one's big, and I don't want to go too far into the details or the weeds on this one, but it is also their capacity to move large loads over long distances quickly. That is power. So force times distance divided by time. Okay, we don't need that. When we were over there, there was an equation that we had on the wall. That's power. Okay, we're going to talk about that. But these are things, like I could do a fucking bicep curl all day. These kinds of isolated movements. Now, there's value in isolation movements, but you're not going to generate a lot of power doing 15 side raises, right? You're going to generate a lot of power being able to do a push press. Not only that, you're going to be able to use that in the real world. How many times do you do this with anything? Right? Very rare. But how many times do you have to do a push press to get something over onto a shelf, right? Or to tossing it to someone, right? So that's the prescription. Constantly varied functional movement executed at high intensity. Remember, high intensity is not maximal effort, right? Easy way to look at it is like 70%. You've heard us use RPE, right? Rate of perceived, we'll say effort or exertion. Jack's actually working on a post to kind of get into the details of that. I'd say probably a 5 or 6. So the easiest way for most people to understand what RPE is like the same thing you see at a doctor's office for pain levels. 0 being you're sitting here right now, and 10 is your hair's on fire, right? So, or in like workout terms, Fran, right? We always kind of joke about this idea of Fran lung, right? All right, so the methodology. It is empirically based fitness, meaning we measure everything. That is the best way for you to understand the core question for everyone. Am I getting fitter? Is fitter a word? We'll just go with it. How about that? But being able to put all of that up here on the board. Now, we can get into the mental aspects of worrying about what everyone else's score is. You are in a small pond, ladies and gentlemen. No one gives a shit about what you did in terms of your time. What we care about, did you do it right, and did you work hard? That's all that matters. And did you come back the next day, right? And if it's not my class, you had fun, because no one has fun in my class. But it is evidence-based fitness, meaning we're going to measure things, we're going to use the scoreboard, we're going to use the clock, we're going to try to give you measurements that you can observe and repeat, which is why we have benchmark workouts. We don't do them all the time. We don't do a lot of retesting, right? You see that as much as we can, but how many of us want to do Karen every 4th week? Right. Okay. Right. You guys were upset that we had to do Carabelle like 3 weeks apart. Good Lord. The implementation. So our implementation of that. As much as people don't want to hear this, this is the sport of fitness. Okay? Now, when we talk about this, and you got to remember, CrossFit has been around since 2001. Okay? So it's evolved significantly. If you've been in CrossFit in our space, as long as someone like Brendan or myself have, you've seen it go from 2007, right, where they first started the games, to what it is now. These are professional athletes. They talk about this is an easy way to think about it is in 2007 they performed a workout. It was a 1K row. And I believe it was 5 rounds of 20 pull-ups and 7 push jerks at 155. The time cap in 2012 was lower than the fastest time in 2007 at the games. Think about that. In a 5-year span, right? It's a sport. But for us, it's a sport in the sense that we are going to try to compete with ourselves. And that's a tough one to take away from too as well, is that there are a lot of people that are going to compare themselves to others. That is the worst thing that you can do, because then it just gets in your head. Now, if I'm here and I'm working out with Tanner, even if I'm working out with Claire, or if I'm working out with Barb, I'm not calling Barb out because she's new, but Barb is also a little bit older than me. Is if she's on the fucking wall doing wall balls, and I'm standing there looking at her like this, I don't care if she's using a 5-pound wall ball or a 20-pound wall ball. I'm going to look and be like, fuck this, I'm going to go, right? I'm going to use that person as motivation to push, right? A lot of us do that. It's that external drive for us to push and get better. And look, that's one of the beauties of group fitness. Shared suffering is an amazing thing. Is it not? And then you get done and you're like, thanks, see you tomorrow. And that's one of the challenges that new people, when they come in and do this, is it's like, oh my God, that was the worst thing I've ever done. No, it wasn't. It might have been today, but that's okay, right? And so trying to get them to understand that the implementation is harnessing that natural camaraderie, that natural competitiveness. And so one of the things they put in the level 1, it says, we have observed that men or women will die for points. We see that all the time, right? And it's just that little bit of push, but that leads to what? That. And we'll get into the next piece of what is fitness and how you get the fitness piece off of from this. Okay? So, questions so far on the understanding of fitness? How am I on time? Good. The foundations of fitness. So, the key thing on this one, guys, is this is a core strength and conditioning program. And that's two things, literally and figuratively. Meaning that, in the literal sense, it is the center of something, meaning we do core to extremity or core movements. So we're going to use our hips a lot. We're going to use these shoulders a lot. But we're not doing a lot of wrist curls and bicep curls and hamstring curls and leg extensions, all those. We are doing core to extremity movements. And all of it's going to be based on universal movement patterns, right, that we talked about earlier. The other one is it is developing a well-rounded athlete. So a core strength and conditioning program like you would hear from someone at a college strength and conditioning program. But what we try to say to people, and especially through our youth program, is Jack's not making better football players. He's making a better, well-rounded athlete so that when they go to sport-specific things, they are going to be heads and shoulders above everyone else because they have got that core foundation of CrossFit, right? So we try to. I'm never going to try to make you a better person doing pull-ups. If you need to do that, then you need to go see a specialist. Now, can I help you? Absolutely. So, the next one, and this one's the key thing that people have to ask themselves, is this for me? Yes. CrossFit, and I'll look at the camera on this one, CrossFit is for everyone. Now, I say that because everyone can do it. Not everyone wants to do it, right? CrossFit's hard. And if it weren't hard, there'd be like a fucking 1,000 of you in here, which is why Planet Fitness is able to do what they do, right? Doing bicep curls and some tricep extensions is easy, relatively speaking, to ring dips, right, and pull-ups at a high intensity. And so, the one thing that they say, and I think a lot of us need to take to heart, is this. Your needs differ by degree, not kind, when it comes to your grandmother or an Olympic athlete. So, kind of let that sink in. Your needs differ in degree, not kind, right? Someone that's 80 years old and can deadlift half their body weight is doing way better than someone eating Cheetos and video games at 25. A non-athlete. That person, he or she is just trying to be strong and mobile for life, where a specialist or a person trying to get into the sport of fitness, like Brody or Frankie or anyone else like that, they are trying to be that king of all trades, right? And so it is for you. It is for everyone. The question is that, Are they willing to check their ego, learn, get uncomfortable? And that's the big challenge for a lot of people is this is hard. Has everyone done Fran in here? Yeah. You know what that feels like. Yeah. Done at a high intensity. It's 90 reps, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a lot, right? But done at a high intensity, that shit's hard. And that's the thing that will harden you mentally. Because if you come in here and do Fran, I promise you're going to be fine on the side of the road changing your tire, right? Or having to carry a child through the airport. You'll be fine. So, what is an athlete? So, an athlete to us is someone that trains strength, balance, power, agility, flexibility, endurance, all of these things. Again, when we talk about an athlete, all of you here are an athlete in the CrossFit space. A lot of people struggle with that idea too. I'm not an athlete. I can barely do 50 pounds You're an athlete. Because we see fitness and health as the same thing. Meaning, some of us are, again, trying to excel at the sport. Some of us are trying to just excel and be better at life. Again, your needs differ by degree, not kind. Right? Does that make sense? Questions so far? Just pause. Okay. Because we're going to get into the next piece, which is the big question, what is fitness? Okay. So I'll add this down here. So what is it that we do? Increased work capacity across broad time and modal domains. That is what's fitness to us. Okay? So, increased work capacity. That is my ability to do what? More. More or faster, whatever it is. My ability to do more. This is more important than what your VO2 max is, what your lactic threshold is. Those are great metrics, your body composition. Those are great metrics, but I'm not going to want a higher VO2 max if it's going to force my ability to do more to be less, right? And when we say more, again, it can be faster, those time things, or how much work I can do in a particular amount of time, or can I pick something up more? If I have a lower body comp, but I then decrease it so much that it's impacting my work capacity, again, this is the key thing, increased work capacity. So, across broad times, what does that mean? It just simply means short, medium, and long. Now, in a CrossFit class, long is usually like anything above 20 minutes, and then you guys throw a shit fit. Okay? But you see in the CrossFit games, right, there are workouts that are like 90 minutes long sometimes, right? And that's broad times. So short, something like a sprint, right, or those Frans. Your medium ones say like 7 to 12 minutes, and then your longer ones, your longer workouts, your 5Ks, right, those longer workouts that we do. Okay, we got one coming up in a couple weeks. I'm just kidding. It's only 25 minutes. So, and then last, modal domains. That just simply means everything. So that ranges from your gymnastics movements to your barbell movements to your monostructural movements. So my ability to do more work in different time domains with different movements. Does that make sense? And that is fitness to us. Now the question is, how do we define that? So it's not just, these are the words. You have to be able to support this, right? Increased work capacity across broad time and modal domains. So what I would say to a lot of you is, just like these 100 words of fitness, or if you unpack that, right? We're going to say creativity will allow, patterns as creativity will allow, routine is the enemy. right? All of these movements they just listed in the middle part of it, yeah? Okay? Go hard and fast, right? Mix the elements in any combination. Keep them short and intense. It's all different kinds. It's just another way of expressing this. Because when I say to someone, constantly varied functional movements executed in high intensity, that means nothing to them. But if you're trying to talk to your friends, hey, what is CrossFit? You can tell them that if you want, right? You can send them to this video. I wouldn't. But simply saying to them, we change things up, we work hard, right? And then we're going to, what was the last piece? I just fucking brain farted. We're going to do things that you normally do and see in life. That's the easiest way to put it. And then we have fun doing it. At least try. Right? And I think that's the key piece. Because all of us sitting here, and anyone that's part of this gym, our version of fun to someone outside of this is just like someone that would be like a Jehovah's Witness to someone that is not religious. Like they feel something in that version of their religion that others don't understand. Now, I'm not saying that we compare those two things, but my point being is that there are certain things that you have experienced here that have impacted you so much that you keep coming back, even though the next workout's going to be even more difficult. Right? That's the crazy thing is you guys pay me to have you work out hard. It's baffling. All right, last thing. How do we support that statement? Okay. So we, CrossFit, use 4 different ways of defining fitness, the ability to define fitness. Okay, 4 things. The first one is the 10 general physical skills. Okay, so they are cardiorespiratory endurance, stamina, strength, power, flexibility, speed, coordination, agility, balance, and accuracy. You guys didn't write them down? No? The first four, and I think I may have it in run order: cardiovascular, respiratory endurance, stamina, strength, and flexibility. Those are biological adaptations during stress, meaning training. You're going to get more endurance by running more. You're going to get more stamina, which is the muscular aspect of that, right, by doing more reps. Your strength, of course, that's obvious, right? If I push more weight, I'm going to develop more muscle, which means I get more strength to be able to output more. Flexibility is the same thing. A lot of people don't realize that, but yes, if you are stronger in your whole leg, you're going to be able to squat all the way down, right? The last 4, coordination, agility, balance, and accuracy, are neurological adaptations that you do during practice. What is the number one thing that we can think of that requires coordination? That's an actual question. Double unders. You don't get better at double unders by doing it in a Metcon. You have to slow down. You have to practice. Handstand walks. Things that require balance, accuracy, coordination, these things that take time. So we don't do it a ton of times. We do it in our accessory work sometimes. But that time of practice and play. So the times that we do program 15 minutes of handstand practice. What we're trying to do in class is give you some of the tools so that you can do that outside of class. Right? We don't do it a lot in here. I don't spend 15 minutes for people trying to practice double unders because I've got 10 people in a class and 7 of you might have double unders. Now, we could start doing crossovers and triple unders and things like reverse double unders, although Tanner's the only one that's done that. But play, practice. So, and then of course the other 2, power and speed, those are to both. Right? You develop power through neurological adaptations, but also through actual work, biological adaptations. So that's the first one, right? The 10 general physical skills. I've really thought about using that space right there to put them all right up on there. But when we think about what we're doing, and you hear me come to you like, we need to work on balance, coordination. Like the teeter-totter is a great way to see like someone's basic balance and coordination, right? It's just, so, the second one, questions about the 10 general physical skills? No? You guys remember all of them now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Yes? Just, it's going to be like that long division problem I always say I want to do. It's like, what are the 4 of the 10? And see if anyone can respond. The hopper. So the concept of the hopper is that just like, well, they used a peanut hopper at the games in 2007, but the hopper, the idea is that I should be able to throw any movement, any domain, any number of rep schemes, put it into one of those bingo hoppers and pick something out, right? And if I just pick 3 things out, and we're going to say, okay, guys, this is the workout today. A person that has the foundation of all the things we're trying to do is going to excel at that. So if you think about it, what is the first thing that comes to mind if you were to be like, man, I don't want to see that in a workout today, right? And that's the key, is our ability to be able to be prepared for everything. And so that's the key that a lot of us that are not, say, in the sport of fitness struggle with, is learning new skills sucks. Right? But if it were easy, then everyone would do it. And some of the most rewarding things that we can do are the things that take the longest. And so that's the big challenge, is that if I put everything in there, spun it around, pulled it out, that's what we're doing today, being prepared for everything. So the hopper's the second one. The third one are the 3 metabolic pathways. Now, I'm not going to get into the details, but there are 3 of them, right? Phosphagen, glycotic, and oxidative. Simply going very fast, somewhere in the middle, and then long. You felt that wall in the middle of a real quick workout? That's your body's transition into that second pathway. Doing something fast, a sprint. Something like grace, right? 30 clean and jerks for time. That feeling is anaerobic, right? Your body is going to be different from that neurological adaptation. Just let your hair on fire and go. That kind of phosphagen, depends on how fast you can go with that, more glycotic too. But 5K, that's aerobic, right? Something that's going to be longer, something that's more paced. Sometimes you'll always say, I love when we do like a 25-minute workout where I can go real, just kind of cruise control, right? I hate those. I would much rather just light my hair on fire and see what happens. But everyone's got a preference. So, same thing with that hopper. I don't want to see a 5K. I hate programming 5Ks. But I do it anyway because I know I need to get better at it. So, the 3 metabolic pathways is the next way we do it. The bigger one is, the 4th one in my opinion, is the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum. Okay? So, meaning, if you have high blood pressure, if you are overweight, you have high body fat, you are most likely not over here. I don't give a fuck what our society says today. I don't care who they put on the front of a fitness magazine. They are not fit. Okay? As much as you want to disagree with me, I promise you, you take those other 3 fitness definitions and then apply those biomarkers, they're most likely somewhere in here, right? And so, someone that is fit, now we get into the 4th piece, which is the 4th dimension of age, right? We turn this into a third 3D model, Jesus Christ, JR, 3D model, then if I'm starting, and this is kind of the thing that sucks for a lot of us, is like, man, I wish I had started CrossFit earlier, is someone that's Brody's age, if he continues to do this, his fitness will go down over time. But he has set himself up for success because he was fit for longer. That doesn't mean that just because you start at 70 that you can't do this. It just means that you probably spent more time and your fitness decline is going to happen more rapidly. Which is why when you hear people's success stories when they have gotten things like cancer or have had a heart attack or something like that, if they have been fit, they are going to more likely survive that situation than someone that is not. Am I saying anything wrong, doctor? Correct, right? But the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum is the fourth piece, and I think the most important for people, because when you think about the general physical skills, those are things that we need to do. Training and practice. The hopper is just anything that we want to pick from in terms of movements or times, right? That's a workout. And then, of course, you have the 3 different metabolic pathways, which most of us are just going to gloss over anyway. You just think short, medium, and long, right, in terms of the length of the workout. But this one is the one that's the most relatable. If I have high blood pressure, if I have a high body fat, if I'm inactive, I'm most likely here. And those things are going to play into my ability to do all of this. And if you want to fix those things, the easiest thing to do is to take those first 3 lines on that and apply that, the nutrition side. That is going to make all of that a hell of a lot easier. Because if you eat like shit, you fuel like shit, then it's going to be a bad workout. Okay? Now, I'm not preaching that someone has to do that, but that is going to play into your ability to get over here. So if you're not sleeping, you're not eating well, you're not taking the time that you need, you're doing all the recovery things, this is going to be a tough thing to achieve. And if you can get there and sustain that for decades, because again, I've been doing this for 12 years, the idea is that I'm going to do this till the day I die, is that I'm setting myself up for success in the end stages of my life so that hopefully when I get there, it's not as challenging as someone like, and I know this is going to go on the internet, my father, right, who's 63, how old am I? 63, right, very overweight, and is on the cusp of waiting for that first heart attack, hoping it doesn't kill him, right? And that's something I have to accept as a son, of recognizing that that's going to happen, that phone call eventually will be dialed, right? So the more you can do to get over here, the easier it's going to be to do everything else. That's why I think this is so important. Because again, taken into a 3D model, at your age, it will decline. My ability to be able to lift 400 pounds at the age of 80, probably not the same as it is right now. But I promise you, if you are still working out and lifting weights at 80, you are doing way better in terms of bone density, right? All of your other health markers than someone that is sitting there, as I said earlier, eating Cheetos, playing video games at 25. All right, questions? That was a lot to throw at you, but that's like 3 hours of lecture in 35 minutes. So, thank you for coming out. Appreciate it. I wanted to do this because I believe that as affiliate owners, we need to do a better job of evangelizing what this is to you. As a reminder of why you're here and why you do that, because we all have bad days. We all see that workout like, fuck it, I'm just not coming, right? The other thing too is it now gives all of you and whoever watches this the tools to help be that evangelist as well to others, to say to them, yes, CrossFit is scary, that's okay. CrossFit is hard, that's okay. But I promise you're going to have a great time doing it. Because if you want to mix things up, you want to work out hard, you want to try to do things that you're going to see in the real world, you want to try to be better, then you have the ability to do that. Okay? Questions? All right. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. All right. Well done. Let's put this away.